Daryl's N62. Welcome to our kitchen here. Today we are going to be pressure canning chicken. That's one of the main staples of most people's diets anymore, it seems, but we got a good buy on some nice chicken breasts and $1.32 a pound. So we got several of those. We're going to be canning some chicken. We're going to be doing ours in pint jars. Supposedly it's supposed to be about a pint per pound or something like that, but we'll see. We're going to measure it out and see to be sure. But we're going to be doing them in pint jars, so we've got about 18 pounds of chicken we'll be canning today. Now we're going to be doing it two different ways. One way is that you cook the chicken, partially cook it, and can it, and in that process you don't use any kind of broth in it, or you do use a broth in it, sorry. You have to put a broth in it and cover it. The other way is raw pack, where you put the chicken in, you don't have to put any broth in, or water, depending on how you. I always use broth when I do meat because it's a whole lot better than just plain water. But when you do a raw pack, you don't have to put any. Supposedly, the chicken is going to generate enough juices in the canning process. We'll see. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a few jars, a few pints of cooked chicken and process those. They process the same amount of time, so it doesn't make any difference. But I will process probably 2 or 3 pints of cooked chicken. The rest of it I'm just going to raw pack and see how that works. But we're going to get started here on pressure canning chicken and see how it goes. So here we are ready to go. We've got our chicken there. We've got some hot water on for broth, to make broth there. And we've got our broth and our salt and some of our utensils here. And we're ready to cook. We're going to cut our chicken here. I'm going to put our raw packed chicken in here, put it in the refrigerator while we cook our cooked chicken, which is going to be here, because we're going to slice our cooked chicken up a little smaller. And we've got our jars all ready to go. We'll heat those up in a hot water bath here while we're cooking the chicken. Got our canner, got some warm water in there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be dealing with raw chicken here, and so I don't have to keep washing my hands all the time. We're going to be using some gloves because we'll be cutting up this raw chicken. When I put it in the jars and everything, I use utensils to put it into the jars, so I won't be handling it with my hands. It's better not to handle raw chicken with your hands if you can help it. Wear gloves, it's sanitary, it's better for you. Alright. Now our first bag of chicken here. As you can see down here, it was $1.32 a pound. So it was a good buy. Nice chicken breasts. We'll take off our wrapper here. Now these are still, well, a lot more frozen than I thought. So they'll pack better if they're smaller chunks. Actually, I'm kind of glad they're a little bit frozen because they'll cut better. Alright, chunked up. Put these over here in our bowl. And when we get these cut up in our bowl here, these are what we're going to pack raw. Then we'll do some others that we're going to pack cook. A little bit of fat on here we'll trim off. Better not to have that in there, so if you have any of this little fat, little gristle stuff here, just kind of trim that off. Alright, we got a lot more of these to do, and we'll get these cut and get them put in there. Okay, here we have our chicken all cut up for our raw pack. We're going to put this in the refrigerator while we get this other done and get it cooked. And I've got 3 pieces left to cook. Trim our fat off, gristle off. Okay. Now we're going to cook these, so they're going to be just a little bit smaller because they'll be easier to cook. And when we cook them, we're not going to cook them all the way through. We're just going to cook them partially. Okay. These we're going to put in this bowl over here because this is going to be our cooking. And we'll cook those up, not quite all the way, but just partially. And being cooked, they'll have to have some broth in them. Okay, now we have our chicken all cut up that we're going to cook. Got the others put in the refrigerator. And now I've got some, going to make about a quart of chicken broth here. I use a chicken base that we get at our Mennonite store, and it takes 1 teaspoon per cup. So I'm going to make up about a quart here. Got my water heating up. And we'll dip that in, stirring it as we go. We'll make us a chicken base here. Now the purpose of this particular chicken broth here is once we cook our chicken, then we're going to put this hot broth in there and heat it up with the chicken. We'll probably put a little bit in there to start with, and that will help keep our chicken hot through and through while we put it into the jars. So if you're making a lot, this is a very important step. And I may be making more broth than I need, but I'll use it to fill the jars. There we go. A quart. Lid back on. I've had a good stir. Alright, now we're ready to cook our chicken, and again, we're not going to cook it all the way through, we're just going to cook it mostly. I'll put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom there just to help get it started. Let the pan heat up before we put the chicken in there, and then we're going to cook our chicken. Okay, we've cooked our chicken not quite all the way through. Put a little broth in there and cooked it in that, so it's going to be good and hot. We've got the other broth back here heating up, the rest of that quart. And so it'll be nice and hot. And we're going to pour it in on top of this. And then let this stay here and set in this. And we won't use this broth in our cooking. And that's probably more broth than we need, but we're just going to keep it hot in the pan till we get ready to put it in the jars, which we're going to do momentarily. Chicken ready to go. Cooked it, mostly cooked, and now we're going to put our jars in a hot water bath. And next up, we're going to drain this chicken and put it into here. Now the reason we're doing this is because when you've cooked it, you've cooked into some of the fats and grease out of the chicken. into the broth here, so we don't want to use this because we don't want that fat and grease in there. There'll be still some come out of it anyway as it finishes cooking. And this is about almost all the way cooked. Not quite. Put a splash of vinegar in here in our canner because we have extremely hard water. And we're going to get 3 pints ready here. And see what we get in it. First thing we're going to do, because it's we're going to put just plain water in it, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of bouillon powder per pint. That'll make 2 cups of broth because I'm just using hot water. So 2 teaspoons per pint. If you do quarts, it'll be 4 teaspoons. Takes 1 teaspoon per cup. So I've got all those in there. I've got 3. It may not take 3, but it ain't gonna hurt nothing. I'm gonna put bouillon in the others anyway, and then I'm gonna put a half a teaspoon of salt per pint. And this is canning salt. It works better than table salt. Doesn't have all the additives and stuff in it. And then we're going to spoon our chicken. Into the pints. We want to leave, for the cooked chicken, we want to leave at least an inch of head space. And bear in mind, an inch of head space is about to the bottom of this rim right here is about an inch. Now for the uncooked chicken, the raw chicken, will go down about 1.25 inches, so just below that. Let me see if I can dump one of these out here. Here we go. So we're going to tamp that down just a little bit, because we know this is going to settle in the canning process. We don't want to do it too much. We don't want it too tight, too compact, but we are going to tamp it down a little bit, and then we'll be able to put a little more in. Okay, next we've got bouillon in the bottom and salt in the bottom, so we're just going to add water, some hot boiling water here. And again, we need to keep about 1 inch of head space. So we just put the water in so it comes up to the top of the chicken. Now cooking chicken is a little bit more work than the raw chicken, and that's why I'm only doing 3 of these. I want to see how it does with the cooked chicken, because the less work I have to do, the better off I like it. Alright, now we're going to stick this down there and get the air bubbles out. Again, making sure we have our inch of head space there, more or less. Now, next we have got all the air pockets out. Next we're going to take a rag and some vinegar, and we're going to wipe our tops with vinegar. And the reason is because vinegar cuts through the grease and the fat, and we'll take all that off. then we'll put our lids on, center them on there, nice and centered. Band, finger tight. Lid centered on, lid centered on. Band, finger tight. Band, finger tight. Now we're going to take these and set them down inside of our canner. I don't have all my water in my canner yet, but we're going to put about 3 quarts of water in there because we want to make sure there's plenty of water. We may put 4 quarts. I usually try to put a little extra water in when I do meat because you have to process it for, well, for pints it's 75 minutes, so an hour and 15 minutes. With quarts it's an hour and a half. So because it has to process so long, it takes a little bit extra water. You don't want your canner to run out of water. So a little too much water is better than not enough water. Alright, now we're going to can our raw packs. Okay, now we're ready to raw pack. Now we have in our jars, we have 1 teaspoon of salt. And since this is going to make its own broth as it processes in the raw chicken, we just put 1 scant teaspoon of bouillon just to give it just a little bit more flavor. Alright, then we're going to put our chunks in. Instructions say loosely put these in here, leaving about 1.25 inch space at the top. So anyway, you want to be careful when you're handling raw chicken. You don't want to get your hands on it. Okay, now we're not going to put any liquid in these. We want to get the grease, chicken fat off the rim, so we're going to wipe them down with vinegar. Get each of them wiped down with vinegar, then we're ready to put our lids on. Again, center the lids. Put on the rings, finger tight. Now, my jars were, I better put a rim on there, hadn't I? A real lid on there. My jars were tempered in hot water, but this raw chicken is cold. So this is why we don't want the water in the canner to be boiling, because you don't want to put cold down in the hot canner. Now the cooked chicken was warm already, so that's all right. And we'll be able to tell the difference, I think, once it's completed. As we put the raw chicken in, and we've already got our 3 cooked chicken in there. And now we'll finish up packing our raw chicken in the jars, get it put in here and put in the second layer. Okay, and there you have it. 19 pints of chicken. We have 3 pints of the pre-cooked chicken, and then 16 pints of the raw chicken. And that's out of about 19 pounds of chicken breast. So not too bad. We've got 19 pints, and we'll just getting ready to put our lid on it. We've got our heat turned on. We'll line up our lid. We've checked it, make sure the seal was good, make sure that everything worked, the vent was clean, our escape vents were working, and now it's on full blast, ready to go, and it'll heat up. We'll wait for the steam to come out of here, wait for this one over here to close, count 10 minutes because this steam will be coming out pretty forcefully here. And after 10 minutes, we'll put on our 15-pound weight, and then we'll keep it on high until the weight starts to jiggle, We'll turn it down some, and then we'll time it for pints. It's 75 minutes. That's an hour and 15 minutes. And we'll let her go from there. Alright, we'll show you what the after I've let my meat set overnight in the canners, I remove the rings. I take those off because in the canning process there may be a little bit of juices come out, so you'll make sure you take those rings off. Some people put rings on, leave rings on, some people don't. I like to put rings back on mine. I don't put them on tight. Mainly I do it so that it doesn't get knocked around, or if I stack them on the shelf. The other thing I do is I always wash my jars, and in this case I just take a wash rag and I'll wash them off. See if there's anything on the outside that's gunky or anything, and get that cleaned off, or if I have any hot water deposits. I like to wash them off and test the lids while I'm doing it, make sure that they're on there good. And in this case I'm using vinegar to wash them. Usually I just use hot water, but with the meat we're going to use vinegar because it helps take any grease or anything that's on the outside of the jar, take it off. Now after I've washed them in vinegar, then I'll dry them off, and usually I'll let them set for a while, and then I will put clean rings on. I don't use the same rings I took off and wash them. I make sure they're good and dry. I want everything to be dry before I put these on, and I just screw them on. You know, just put them on. They're not even tight. My main purpose for doing it is if it gets knocked over or something gets banged against something else, won't knock that lid loose. If it falls on the floor or something and hits it there, hopefully it'll keep that lid intact. But as I wash these, I always check, make sure those are tight, and I'll let these jars sit and get good and dry. Even though I dried them off, let them air dry for a couple hours before I put the clean rings on them. Alright, we'll be back to taste test it here directly. Our taste test on our chicken that we've canned, our partially pre-cooked chicken versus our raw packed chicken. And we've concluded there's basically no difference in the taste. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but not enough to make any difference to have to mix up the broth or boil the water and pour that in and pre-cook the chicken. So we're going to be raw packing our chicken from now on. We have determined it does take about a pound of raw chicken per pint. It actually took 2 pounds of pre-cooked chicken. We weighed it after it was cooked to make 3 pints. So the 2 pounds went into 3 pints. So the raw packed about a pint per pound. The bouillon that we added, we figured out that it's probably going to be better to mix it up with the water before you add the bouillon if you use the partially pre-cooked method. And when we put the little dab of probably a half a teaspoon of bouillon, I think I put a scant teaspoon, but about a half a teaspoon of bouillon powder, put it on top of the raw chicken rather than on the bottom, and I think it'll turn out better. So it may have looked better being pre-cooked in the jars after it was cooked, but the taste, texture, and everything came out to be about the same. And an additional thing that I want to mention here before we go is I mentioned that we put a 15-pound weight on our pressure cooker. That's because we're above 1,000 feet of elevation, 1,000 feet above sea level here in the Ozarks. You do what your canner says. If you're below 1,000 feet and you're using a weighted canner, I believe it's 10 pounds. If you use a dial canner, pressure dial canner, then you need to follow the instructions on your canner for processing. All right? Okay. If you have any questions or comments or anything, let us know. We're glad you came. Glad you visited us. From our kitchen to your kitchen. God bless.